Most people never fail because of a lack of talent or opportunity. They fail because they don't follow through. They start strong but stop halfway. You know it's true. But what if I told you there's a way to break this cycle for good? Think about this. Discipline isn't something you're born with, it's something you build, one choice at a time. Yet, it's not just about willpower. It's a habit, a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows when you challenge it. Today, we're going to dive deep into what it really takes to cultivate discipline that sticks so you can finally create the life you want. Here's the hard truth: discipline isn't easy. We all know what we should be doing, but knowing isn't the problem. It's the doing. Most people give up after a few days, especially when results don't show up right away. It's frustrating when you start with high hopes and end up quitting halfway, convincing yourself you just didn't have it in you. And this cycle becomes a pattern eating away at self-belief. Now, why does this happen? And more importantly, how do you fix it? To understand discipline, think of it as planting a seed. When you plant it, you don't expect a fully grown tree overnight, do you? But what do? You water it every day, even when you see no signs of growth, even when the soil looks the same. You trust the process. The same applies to your goals and habits. Most people focus on the reward, not the effort. But when you put your attention on the process instead of what you'll get, something shifts. You're no longer chasing an outcome, but a habit. There's an old story about a man who wanted to chop down a massive tree. He took an axe and went at it for hours, barely making a dent. Frustrated, he left. The next day, he came back and chopped a little more. And the next day and the next. Over time, he didn't need a huge amount of force, just consistent effort. After days of returning to the same tree, one small strike after another, the tree eventually fell. The lesson? The man didn't cut down the tree by sheer strength alone, but by steady persistence. In life, many of us approach our goals like that man with the axe, thinking we need big actions or grand gestures. But really, what brings the tree down is steady, small steps every single day. Here's the turning point: discipline isn't about pushing harder. It's about showing up, even on the days when you're not motivated. Because those are the days that matter the most. Consistency compounds. It's about making those daily deposits in the bank of your future. 1. Set clear, non-negotiable rules. Let's talk about rules, not the kind others make for you, but the ones you set for yourself. See, most people struggle with discipline because their commitments are more like wishes. They say things like, I'll try to wake up early, or I'll aim to hit the gym. But trying and aiming don't count. Clear rules do. If you leave room for negotiation, you'll find ways to wiggle out. Discipline begins when you set non-negotiable rules, no matter how small they are. Now, what does that mean? It's simple. Decide what's non-negotiable for you. Let's say you want to read more. If you make a vague goal like, I'll try to read 10 pages a day, you're going to face friction. Because when you're tired or busy, you'll find reasons to skip it. Your mind is wired to protect you from discomfort. And it's smart at finding excuses. That's why you need rules, not wishes. But here's the trick: non-negotiable rules don't leave room for discussion. They're not open for debate. It's like telling yourself every morning, I'm going for a 20-minute run. No questions asked. You make a rule. You eliminate the decision-making, and that's where the magic happens. Because it's not the decision that takes energy, it's the deliberation. I think about it this way: every day you only have a limited amount of mental energy. Every decision you make, every choice you consider drains that reserve. And if you're negotiating with yourself every morning about whether or not to go for that run, you're burning through your energy before the day even starts. But when you set a non-negotiable rule, you free up that energy for other things. You eliminate the negotiation, so the only thing left is action. And over time, something interesting happens. What used to be a conscious choice becomes a subconscious habit. You go from forcing yourself to go for that run to simply expecting it of yourself. You've wired your mind to see it as the default behavior, just like brushing your teeth or getting dressed. It's not a question of if anymore, it's just when. Here's an example. A lot of successful people have non-negotiable morning routines. They don't wake up and think, should I meditate today or should I journal? They've already decided. They set rules like I meditate for 10 minutes every morning, and that's it. They don't waste energy debating it, they just do it. And those small daily practices create massive changes over time. Why does this work? Because non-negotiable rules reinforce your identity. When you consistently stick to a rule, you start to see yourself as someone who follows through. And that's crucial because behavior follows belief. When you believe you're disciplined, you act disciplined. And when you act disciplined, you reinforce that belief. It's a positive cycle that compounds over time. But don't make the mistake of setting vague rules. I'll eat healthier or I'll work harder isn't clear enough. You need specifics. Make rules like I'll drink a glass of water before every meal, or I'll spend the first hour of my day focused on deep work with no distractions. Clarity eliminates confusion, and confusion is what leads to inconsistency. Now, this isn't to say you can never change your rules, but if you do, it should be a conscious decision, not an emotional reaction. It's the difference between adjusting your course and abandoning your ship. If your rules aren't serving you anymore, refine them, but don't abandon them on a whim. And don't overwhelm yourself with too many rules at once. Start with just one or two. Make them small, clear, and consistent. If your rules are too broad, you'll get overwhelmed. If they're too vague, you'll get lost. If they're too rigid, you'll burn out. But if they're simple, clear, and aligned with your goals, they'll create momentum. The beauty of this approach is that it shifts your focus from motivation to consistency. Most people wait to feel motivated before they take action, but motivation is fickle. It comes and goes. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. And it's built on rules that you follow regardless of how you feel. Think of discipline like a bank account. Every time you follow through on a non-negotiable rule, you're making a deposit. And over time, those small deposits add up. You build confidence, self-respect, and trust in yourself. And when you trust yourself, you don't rely on motivation to keep going. You know you'll follow through because you've done it before. So if you're struggling with discipline, don't blame your willpower. Blame your rules. Ask yourself, what am I leaving open for negotiation? And then decide once and for all what's non-negotiable. Remember, you don't need a list of 100 rules. You just need a few clear, consistent ones that you stick to every day. It's like creating a contract with yourself. You decide what you're going to do, and then you honor that commitment. And when you do, you're sending a powerful message to your subconscious mind: I keep my word. I follow through. I'm disciplined. This isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. If you slip up, don't beat yourself up. Just get back on track. Remember, discipline is a muscle. And every time you stick to a non-negotiable rule, you're strengthening that muscle. So what's the takeaway? Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about creating rules that align with the person you want to become. It's about eliminating the daily negotiation and focusing on what matters. And when you do that, you free up your energy, build self-trust, and create the habits that lead to a better life. Decide what's non-negotiable. Set clear rules. And then follow through, no questions asked. 2. The 1% rule. The 1% rule is simple. But don't mistake simplicity for insignificance. See, most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They think they need to make massive changes to see progress. But the real secret? It's about getting just 1% better every day. Let's break it down. Imagine you're trying to improve some area of your life. Maybe it's your health, your relationships, or your finances. Most people look for big, sweeping changes. They want overnight success, instant results, and quick fixes. And if they don't see progress right away, they give up. But what if you approached it differently? What if, instead of aiming for massive leaps, you focused on tiny steps? What if your goal was to be just 1% better today than you were yesterday? Here's the beauty of the 1% rule. It doesn't seem like much in the moment. It's almost invisible. If you save just 1% more of your income today, it won't make you rich overnight. If you read 1% more pages in a book, it won't make you a genius by morning. But over time, those small improvements compound. And that's the key word, compound. You see, compounding isn't just a financial principle, it's a life principle. When you get just 1% better every day, those small gains start to multiply. And over a year, you're not just 365% better. The effect is exponential. It's like rolling a snowball down a hill. It starts small, but as it picks up more snow, it grows faster and faster. Think about this. If you improve by just 1% every day for a year, you'll be over 37 times better by the end of the year. That's the power of consistency. But it requires a shift in mindset. You have to let go of the desire for quick wins and embrace the value of small gains. This is why most people never achieve their goals. They're too focused on immediate results. They want to see changes now, and when they don't, they get discouraged. But the people who succeed, they play the long game. They understand that success isn't about doing extraordinary things once it's about doing ordinary things consistently. Now let's make this practical. How do you apply the 1% rule to your life? Start by picking one area to focus on. It could be your health, your career, your relationships, whatever matters most to you. And then ask yourself, what's one small improvement I can make today? Don't aim for big leaps. Just find a tiny step that moves you in the right direction. For example, if you want to get in shape, don't try to overhaul your entire diet or start a brutal workout regimen. Instead, focus on drinking 1 extra glass of water today, or doing 5 push-ups. It's not about doing everything at once, it's about building momentum through small wins. And here's the key: celebrate those small wins. Most people overlook their progress because it seems insignificant. But when you acknowledge those tiny improvements, you reinforce the behavior. You build confidence and create a positive feedback loop. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. It's to be better than you were yesterday, just 1% better. That's it. And over time, those small changes lead to massive results. Think of it like planting seeds. You don't see a full-grown tree overnight, but every day you water that seed. You nurture it. And eventually it breaks through the soil and starts to grow. Discipline works the same way. It's about making small daily investments in your future self. The challenge is that these small gains are often invisible. When you improve by just 1%, you might not see the difference right away. And that's where most people lose faith. They want immediate results, and when they don't see them, they quit. But those who understand the power of compounding stay the course. They trust the process, even when the results aren't visible, because they know that over time, those small gains add up. And when they look back, they realize just how far they've come. Here's a practical tip to track your progress. Even if it's just a simple checklist or a journal entry, write down the small steps you're taking each day. It might seem trivial in the moment, but when you look back, you'll see the pattern. You'll see how those small wins accumulated over time. And when you hit a rough patch, those records of progress will keep you going. They'll remind you that even when it felt like nothing was changing, you were still moving forward. The 1% rule is about embracing the long game. It's about letting go of instant gratification and focusing on the process. It's about making small, consistent improvements day after day without getting discouraged by the lack of immediate results. And here's the best part: the 1% rule isn't just about achieving goals. It's about becoming the kind of person who consistently strives for growth. It's about adopting a mindset of continuous improvement. And when you do that, success isn't just a destination, it becomes a way of life. So if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed by the size of your goals, remember this: you don't need to do everything at once. You don't need massive changes or overnight success. You just need to be 1% better today than you were yesterday. And if you do that consistently, you'll look back in a year and be amazed at how far you've come. Small steps taken consistently lead to big results. That's the power of the 1% rule. And it's something you can start applying today. 3, delay gratification. One of the hardest lessons to learn is how to delay gratification. Why? Because we live in a world that loves quick rewards. It's tempting to want everything now, whether it's that sugary snack, that extra hour of sleep, or that shiny new thing. And it's not your fault. Your brain is wired to seek comfort. It's programmed to look for easy rewards. But discipline? Discipline is training your mind to resist those easy rewards and go after something greater. It's understanding that short-term discomfort leads to long-term gain. And it's the willingness to trade a small, immediate pleasure for a bigger, more meaningful result down the road. Imagine this: you're sitting at your desk trying to work on an important project. You know it's crucial for your future, your growth, and your goals. But then a notification pops up. A message from a friend, a funny video, or maybe you just feel like checking social media for a quick scroll. Now here's the choice: you can give in, take that immediate pleasure, and lose precious time. Or you can delay it, resist the urge, and stay focused on your task. And this isn't just about avoiding distractions. It's about training your mind to see beyond the moment and recognize what really matters. But delaying gratification isn't easy. It goes against our instincts. It's uncomfortable. And most people avoid discomfort at all costs. They want the result without the resistance, but that's not how it works. If you want something great, you have to be willing to give up something small in the moment. Think of it like trading pennies for gold. When you delay gratification, you're sacrificing something trivial today to gain something valuable tomorrow. It's choosing not to eat that slice of cake because you're committed to your health. It's saying no to that weekend getaway because you're saving for your dream home. It's giving up temporary pleasure for lasting fulfillment. But how do you build that mindset? How do you resist the temptation to take the easy route? It starts with understanding the power of choice. Every time you choose to delay gratification, you're strengthening your discipline muscle. You're telling your mind, I'm in control, not my impulses, not my cravings, me. And like any muscle, discipline grows with practice. At first, it's tough. Your mind resists. It tries to justify why you should give in. It whispers, just this once won't hurt, or you deserve a break. But when you push through that resistance, something shifts. You start to realize that you're stronger than your urges, and each time you delay gratification, it gets a little easier. Here's a practical tip: start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Pick one area where you struggle with instant gratification. Maybe it's your eating habits, your spending, or your work ethic. And make a conscious decision to delay that immediate reward just once. Then celebrate that small victory. Acknowledge the effort it took and the progress you made. Over time, those small victories add up. And as your discipline grows, you'll find it easier to resist bigger temptations. You'll start to see the long-term benefits of your choices. And when you experience those benefits firsthand, your mind starts to associate delayed gratification with positive outcomes. But here's the thing: delaying gratification isn't about depriving yourself. It's about investing in yourself. It's recognizing that your future self deserves more than a fleeting moment of pleasure. And when you make decisions with your future self in mind, you start to see the bigger picture. Let's look at a common example: saving money. It's tempting to spend your paycheck on things that bring you joy right now. A new gadget, a night out, or that expensive meal. But if you're constantly giving in to those temptations, you're robbing your future self of financial security and freedom. On the other hand, when you choose to save, invest, or delay unnecessary purchases, you're building a foundation for something greater. You're not denying yourself joy, you're just delaying it. You're choosing a long-term reward over a short-term thrill. And the same principle applies to your health, your career, and your relationships. When you choose to work out instead of lounging on the couch, you're investing in your future health. When you stay late to finish a project instead of leaving early, you're investing in your future success. When you choose to listen instead of interrupting, you're investing in your future relationships. So ask yourself, what's the bigger reward you're working towards? What's worth delaying gratification for? Get clear on that vision. Because when you have a clear picture of what you want, it becomes easier to make those small sacrifices. And remember, discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. There will be days when you slip up, and that's okay. The key is to recognize it, learn from it, and get back on track. Discipline is a journey, not a destination. So the next time you're faced with a choice between instant pleasure and long-term gain, pause. Take a moment to think about what you're really trading. And ask yourself, is this momentary pleasure worth sacrificing my future reward? When you shift your focus to the long term, those short-term temptations lose their power. In the end, delaying gratification isn't about giving up pleasure. It's about prioritizing purpose. It's about choosing what's meaningful over what's easy. And when you make that choice consistently, you're not just building discipline, you're building a better future. 4, focus on today. Here's a common mistake people make when they think about discipline. They look too far ahead. They stress about staying disciplined for a month, a year, or even a lifetime. And that's overwhelming. When you think about staying disciplined for a long time, it feels like a huge mountain to climb. And most people give up before they even start. But here's the secret: don't focus on a year. Don't even focus on a week. Just focus on today, because today is all you have control over. And when you master today, everything else falls into place. It's like this: imagine you're running a marathon. If you constantly think about the finish line 26 miles away, you're going to get exhausted before you even start. But if you focus on taking one step and then another, you keep moving forward. And before you know it, you've covered more ground than you thought possible. The same principle applies to discipline. Don't worry about how you're going to stay disciplined for a year. Just ask yourself, how can I be disciplined today? That's it. One day at a time. When you focus on today, you're not overwhelmed by the big picture. You're not paralyzed by the thought of staying disciplined forever. You're just taking care of what's in front of you. And when you do that, you create a string of small victories that build momentum. Think about this: success isn't one big leap. It's a series of small steps taken consistently. It's not about having the willpower to stay disciplined for a year. It's about having the commitment to stay disciplined for today. And then when tomorrow comes, you do it again. But why does this work? Because when you focus on today, you remove the pressure of the future. You eliminate the fear of failure, the anxiety of uncertainty, and the weight of long-term commitment. You're not thinking about how you're going to stay disciplined next week, next month, or next year. You're just thinking about how you're going to win today. Here's a practical way to apply this at the start of each day. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today to move closer to my goal? Not 5 things, not 10, just one. And then commit to doing that one thing with full focus and intention. Maybe it's going for a 30-minute walk. Maybe it's writing 500 words. Maybe it's making that important phone call. Whatever it is, focus on doing it today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. And here's the best part: when you focus on today, you're building a habit of discipline. You're training your mind to stay present, to be intentional, and to take consistent action. And over time, those daily habits compound into massive results. But here's the catch: you can't get discouraged if you don't see immediate results. Discipline is about consistency, not perfection. There will be days when you slip up, miss a step, or fall short. And that's okay. The key is to get back on track the next day and keep moving forward. Remember, it's not about being perfect every day. It's about being consistent most days. And when you focus on winning today, you're giving yourself the best chance to be consistent. Now let's talk about mindset. When you focus on today, you're not just simplifying your approach, you're shifting your perspective. You're no longer worried about what might happen in the future. You're no longer stressed about staying disciplined for a long period of time. You're fully present in the moment. And that's where your power lies. Think of it like this: every day is a blank slate, a fresh start. You're not carrying the weight of yesterday's mistakes, and you're not burdened by tomorrow's uncertainties. You have a new opportunity to be disciplined, to make progress, and to take action. And when you approach each day with that mindset, you're giving yourself the best chance to succeed. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by the thought of staying disciplined for a long time, let go of that pressure. Focus on today, just today. And when tomorrow comes, you do it again, one day at a time. In the end, discipline isn't about being perfect every day. It's about showing up every day. It's about making the decision to be disciplined today and trusting that those daily decisions will lead to something greater. Remember, this success doesn't happen overnight. It happens one day at a time. So take it one day at a time. Focus on today. And when you do that consistently, you'll look back and realize just how far you've come. Discipline isn't a one-time decision. It's a commitment to small actions repeated day after day. And it's not just about achieving your goals, it's about becoming the kind of person who follows through. That's where confidence and self-respect come from.